When you play like that and you've lost that fear factor, the Premier League is already competitive enough as it is. I don't think any team's going to have any kind of fear whatsoever playing Manchester City now, and that's a bit of a problem.
Well, the marquee match of the weekend in the Premier League saw Arsenal dismantle Manchester City with the Gunners cruising to a 5-1 win, Nigel. I mean, what was the bigger storyline here? Manchester City losing by 5-1, or Arsenal winning and marching on, trying to catch Liverpool in this title race?
Well, Poppy, I'm about balance, and I think both sides are important. I think Manchester City, you look at them, you think they take one step forward, and it seems that they've taken 4 steps back with that kind of performances and showing the vulnerability that we've been talking about so long defensively, how they look so poor and so vulnerable to concede goals. And from Arsenal's perspective, you've got to give them credit. Liverpool went and got a result at Bournemouth yesterday, extending their lead in the Premier League title race, and Arsenal knew that they had to get a result because people must have thought that Liverpool maybe had a potential banana slip with Bournemouth in how well they've been playing. So Arsenal needed to win this game, and obviously it was Manchester City, it was the master versus the disciple, and Arsenal came out the stronger side.
And Arteta is now unbeaten in 5 matches against Pep Guardiola. It feels like all season we've been talking about Manchester City for all the wrong reasons, for all the records that they're breaking on the wrong end of things in comparison to all the glory years, the golden years that they've had. Obviously, do you think that it's a reality now that you could say this is the end of an era for Pep Guardiola and Manchester City's dominance and their reign in the Premier League?
Yeah, I'd have to say so. It seems like they've lost that real fear factor, and I think even when you look at Pep Guardiola on the sideline, he really is starting to look like a manager that doesn't have the answers, doesn't know what to do. The players don't have that same kind of confidence. They look very vulnerable. They look like they have a lack of belief in themselves. And for me, you talk about, 1-0 down in this game. They came back to level it 1-1. You think, OK, maybe Manchester City could maybe kick on and it could still go either way. But Arsenal just came back and were even stronger. They look defensively stronger. They look well more organised compared to Manchester City. And City just look vulnerable. Defensively, they are very, very poor right now. And when you play like that and you've lost that fear factor, the Premier League is already competitive enough as it is. I don't think any team's going to have any kind of fear whatsoever playing Manchester City now, and that's a bit of a problem.
I mean, not only was it a massive loss, but it almost added insult to injury, seeing some of the celebrations today. Lewis-Skelly, obviously the main man in all of this. Look at this. This is what Haaland said to Lewis-Skelly earlier on this season. You can read that. And then he did the Haaland celebration as well. Is this just cheeky, Nigel? How do you feel about this reaction?
Revenge is a dish served, best served cold, Poppy, and that was it for him. Lewis-Skelly deserved that moment there. I think I'm not a big fan of when a youngster's coming through as a senior player, you start to question him, who are you? No. For me, great for the young lad to get a goal. He's been very impressive since he's made his Arsenal debut, been a regular in the team now, and he's earned the right. And it's great. He scores a goal. If someone wants to know who the are you, then you can let them know by scoring a goal and doing their celebration.
The reality is, though, for Manchester City, they've got a really tough run ahead now, haven't they? They've had maybe one of the worst draws they could have hoped for in terms of the Champions League, drawing against Real Madrid in the round of 16, that they had to scrape by Club Brugge on the final day of the league phase to even get to. I mean, if you're Pep Guardiola sitting at home tonight thinking, wow, we've just lost 5-1 to Arsenal, after what's been, a positive last couple of weeks in terms of them getting back into the top 4 in the Premier League, now you get drawn against Real Madrid. What are your outlooks for the season now?
I think the reality of it is Pep has to find a way to get the belief in the players. You don't become a bad player overnight. But when I look at this Manchester City side, I see a real lack of confidence, and especially defensively. They really just don't seem like they believe that they can keep a clean sheet or defend well. They can't seem to lock play in as well as they used to. If any team wins the ball in that midfield area and have some real weapons with pace to get out wide and get at Manchester City, they can cause problems. And that's what Arsenal did today. They broke well and they were very clinical when they broke. And again, just a funny thing about today's game was that Nwaneri came on the 84th minute, had more touches in the game from being on the 84th minute than Erling Haaland did in the whole 90 minutes. And that's a bit of a scary fact as well to add to that situation in today's game.
We've seen some really worrying moments, haven't we, for Manchester City so far this season, and it makes you question where this team is going now in Europe and in the Premier League as well. But Arsenal, on the other side of things, how much belief is this going to give them in the push for the title race with a result like that against Manchester City that took the title from them just a couple of seasons ago?
This is a massive confidence booster. Really big win for Arsenal, because again, we talk about the importance of Liverpool's result against a high-flying, in-form Bournemouth. So the pressure was on Arsenal to get a result. And for Arsenal, you're playing Manchester City, another team that's in that top four race, one of the big boys of the Premier League. So it was a result that they needed to get. I'm probably sure Arsenal would have been happy with a point, again, because of more so Manchester City. But to go and win in the manner that they did and show that dominance, it's a big confidence booster for them for the Premier League title race.
A lot of people have talked about the mentality of Arsenal in the past not being good enough and it coming down to those moments. Now we see an Arsenal side that once they go in front, they're a very difficult team to come from behind to beat. Does that give you confidence as well that this edition of Arsenal is different to those that we've seen in the past?
I would say I've never been someone to believe that. I think that Arsenal, for me, are a strong side. They're well organised. I said that the missing piece for me still, even with today's result, it still shows they are missing that striker, that real clinical finisher. Yes, they scored 5, but a lot of it is down also to Manchester City's very poor play and vulnerabilities. And Kai Havertz, again, had a good game, but again, there's opportunities where he missed, where that game could have probably been put to bed earlier. So nothing really has changed in my evaluation of Arsenal. I feel that they will be one of them. I did pick them as my favourites to win the Premier League title this year. I don't feel so, no. I feel that they're missing that difference maker in the sense of a striker. And the reason why I say that is you look at Nottingham Forest, who are competing in the Premier League as well alongside Arsenal. They've got a very good solid defence. Midfield is solid as well. But the difference between Nottingham Forest and Arsenal is a striker called Chris Wood. So I think that's something that's the big difference between the two. But it's great for the neutral. It's a great Premier League title race, and there's more twists to come.
Did Man City make it into the top 4?
Yes.
Yeah, OK. They've got Leyton Orient in the 4th round of the FA Cup in the next game, followed by a meeting against Real Madrid in the Champions League. It's going to be an interesting stretch for Pep Guardiola's side.